Hey y'all, we are late to this video, but finally, I'm finding time today to sit down and film this Big E recap for you guys. I know you guys have been waiting for a long time. I've been seeing the messages, I've been seeing the DMs, I've been seeing the emails, and finally I'm sitting down today to film the recap for the Big E fair. This is going to be a long one. We're going to talk about a lot, and I wanted to take my time filming this because I didn't want to miss anything at all. I wanted to make sure that you guys had all of the information for if you guys want to do fairs in the future, or just because you guys follow me and you want to know how it was it worth it, all of the questions that you guys have asked me, I'm going to try to answer in this video. I am going to go ahead and break this video up in different sections so that it'll be easy to follow and everything will be broken down that way. I figured that'll be the best way to do it. And also, if you guys are new here, I'm a mom, and recently I just started homeschooling, so my daughter is in the other room sleeping, so I may have to stop and then come back, but hopefully I can just do this in one take and just get it out the way before she wakes up. So that is the goal. But yeah, so we're gonna start off in the different sections. If you guys see me looking down, I'm just going over what I wrote down here, so I think that'll be the best way to keep me on track and have the video flow. I ended up breaking it down into about 10 or 11 points. I gotta see if I can probably squeeze the other point into point number 10. But for the sections of this video, we're going to be going over applying and getting accepted into the Big E. So that should be number 1, how to get in, all of that stuff. Number 2 is going to be preparation and planning for the Big E. As you guys know, the Big E is a huge event. It's the 3rd largest fair in the US, and it brings in around 1.6 million people at the peak. When I went this year, it brought around 1.5 million people, so a little bit less than the peak of last year, but it still was a lot of people. And there was a lot that went into going to the Big E, like so many different things, but we'll go over it in this video. Booth display and setting up, also the location of my spot, daily life at a 17-day show, like how does that look like? You know, how is my days, because the Big E is a 12-hour day, customer interactions and community at the fair, social media and promotion. We're going to talk about that because that one was a big one for this fair. Helpers and support system at a fair like this. We're going to also be going over expenses, exposure and brand growth, and lessons I learned, and also I'll be giving you guys some advice going forward. Final thoughts, and was it worth it? Was it worth it was the main question I've got from other vendors, from just regular customers. Just so many people asked, was it worth it? And I will let you guys know at the end if it was worth it or not, and if I'll be doing this show again next year. So let's go ahead and get into it. If you guys are new here, hi guys, my name is Tina. I'm the founder and owner of XM Beauty, and here at XM Beauty we sell natural hair care and accessories, and I also take you guys along the behind the scenes of running a small handmade business as a single mom. If you guys are watching this video, you guys want to know how the Big E was. We did flea markets before, we've done so many different things, and it took a lot to get to this point to actually do a show this large. And I want to stress that because you cannot just go from selling online or starting up a business to jumping right into a show like this. It is pretty much impossible to do something like that. So I just want to firstly put that out there. You have to start off small. You have to build your way to get to a show like this because the application process is brutal. And part of the application process, they go over, you know, your experience. They also go over what your booth looks like. And if you've never done a booth display before, they have nothing to go off of. So you pretty much can't even finish the application if you don't have some sort of pictures showing what your business is and how your booth looks. The application process consists of like showing pictures, references, and from my experience, the bigger shows, they do call your references. So make sure that you are using very good references and something that is relevant to that show. I wouldn't put in the application that I did a flea market when I first started doing markets on an application to apply to the Big E. be, I want to go ahead and put a reference that is probably from the Delaware State Fair or the Goshen Fair. They ask you about your business, how long you've been in business, all of that stuff, what size booth you want. We opted for a 10 by 10 booth. They ask you if you want to be indoor or outdoor, and then they also leave a space for you to add your pictures of your booth display and how you want it to be displayed there, or an idea of what your booth looks like. And so that's when you go through and you find your best pictures of your booth and you add them to the application, and then you submit the application. The application process is free, and they will contact you whenever they go through the applications and let you know if your business is approved or if it's denied. So the application process for most fairs comes out in January. And so if you guys want to apply for a fair, make sure you guys do it earlier than later, because most of the previous vendors, they already get their applications through before January. So you have to get in quickly. It's very important because I'm sure they fill up very fast. I applied in January 14th. They said, unfortunately, there's no more space. So I emailed back and I said, thank you so much. I hope to be able to attend one day. And then I thought about it and I wanted to know the reason why I didn't get accepted. Like, is it just for the space, or is it because of my booth display, or what was the reason, so I can know going forward? And so I emailed back and said, I walked around the Big E last year and I noticed that there was really nobody at the fair that was selling what I was selling. I have unique items. Everything that I make is handmade. And they immediately got back with me and said, it's not because of your booth or anything. It's because the space is just very, very tight. They couldn't accept me this year. So I was like, all right, I'll just apply again next year. And I was really down about it because in my head, I was like, I'm going to get in, I just had that thought, was like, I'm going to get in, because most of the other fairs that I've gone to, I just applied and I got accepted. And this was like the first big hit. It was like, yeah, your booth may be nice, but not this year, buddy. So, but they said that they will be willing to put me on the waiting list. And immediately I said, thank you so much. That'll be great. That was in January. And fast forward, I'm getting prep ready for the Delaware State Fair because that is in July. And it was May 5th when I was sitting at my desk and I was like, maybe I should just email them and just ask them, has there been any changes? And so I emailed them, and on May 6th, I got the Dear Tina, you have been approved to be a vendor at the Big E for 2025. And when I saw that email, I was so excited. And even though I had sent the email, I just did not expect to get the welcome email, So when I saw that, I was like, oh, wow. So now I really have to prep like a lot. I was already prepping a lot for Delaware, but now we have the Big E, and it's 5 times, you guys, 5 times the size of the Delaware State Fair. The Delaware State Fair, they brought in around 350,000 people, whereas the Big E brings in 1.6 million people. So that is 5 times the size. And I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? But I have to do this because this is an opportunity that I don't want to pass up, especially if I want to do fairs, like this. So they send over documents. They had an online portal that I could go in and I can pay my booth fee. For this spot, my booth fee was $2,300, which is actually not bad. I expected to pay way more. They give you a few months or so to get your payments in, and you just pay online until you pay it off. And in that booth fee, you also get electricity as well. So that is included in that fee. And then they also sent over your paperwork for your parking and stuff. And parking for me, I believe it was another $160. So that was the expenses for the booth, for the electricity, and for the parking. So now we're going to get into the preparation and the planning. This video is going to be long, you guys. So make sure you guys are grabbing a snack, sitting down, relaxing, taking notes. The information that I'm giving you guys is very hard to find. All of this information that I've got for this, I did my own research. I asked around. I talked to other vendors. Like, I did my work on the back end so I can go and have a successful event. And now I'm able to share it with you guys. But this information is very important. Everything that I'm going to say is very important. If you guys want to do fairs, just listen up. All right. So let's move into preparation and planning. So the first thing I immediately did was make a checklist of everything that I needed. Now, I did have the Delaware State Fair to go off of because that is also a state fair. We had a whole contract contract and manual on what to bring, what not to bring, but it was way different than what I know. So I'm used to bringing a tent. I'm used to having certain displays. There wasn't really any regulations on how high you should go, how low you should go. There wasn't, anything like that. So now reading this vendor manual, like you see, you have to have certain side walls, you have to have certain flooring, you have to have certain displays, you have to have so many different things. And I'll go over some of the things that we needed to have. So then I had to start planning for getting all of these things for my booth and planning out my booth display. The Big E started in September. I started my prep in May, but I was also doing the Delaware State Fair as well and the Goshen Fair. And I was also doing other farmers markets. For a fair like this, I wish I would have had more time to get everything ready. And I'm talking as a handmade business, it takes time to make the products. And so, it took us about 2 months to really get everything ready. And if you guys are making more intricate items, it could take longer or it could take less. But for me, everything took around 2 months. And in some areas, I still wasn't prepared. So that's what I'm going to say with that. Just try to make sure that you have more products than less products, especially if you don't have perishable items. You can always sell it at another market if you don't sell out, but you don't want to go to a fair like this and sell out. And also with the planning part, you have to plan out financially as well with the booth fee, because that needs to be paid by a certain time. You have to plan your inventory, what you're going to bring. You have to plan out your booth display. You also have to plan how you're going to pay for everything. Those are the things that you have to plan for a fair like this. Moving on to the booth display and setting up in location and all that. For our booth display, I can literally talk about this for a long time. We put so much time and energy into figuring out where we're going to put things. Me and my sister would have meetings on what is the best way possible to get the most traffic, how our customers are going to feel comfortable. We had to make sure that theft was under control. There were so many things that went into your booth display and how you want to display your products for optimal sales and everything. So we would literally sit down and draw out how we want our booth to be. And in my experience, I've been doing shows for a little bit now. And in my experience, having everything pushed forward where customers won't have to walk into your space made the most sense for us. I noticed that if I did the U shape, some people would be too nervous to walk into the booth because they felt like they were walking into your property. Some people were just too shy to come into the space. And I've tried different angles. I've tried pretty much all of the booth display options that you have for a 10 by 10 spot. And what works best for me in my business and what I tell people all the time, if people are not coming into your space, then push everything out so they could have the experience just walking by. They should be able to see everything that you sell by walking by your booth. Most people are having conversations when they're walking, they're talking, they're eating, and they're just walking, So you want to grab their attention by showcasing everything that you have. And especially if you have a lot of items like I do, I sell hair care, I sell sewn goods. I want to make sure that I'm grabbing their attention in 2 seconds. They can see that I have hair care, they can see that I have sewn goods, so that's why I do that. And I have videos on how to make the perfect booth display and all of that. So I'm not going to get into how you should set up and all that stuff. But for booth display, there was a few things that were necessary that we had to have. For the Big E specifically, you needed to have soft walls that were 75% branded or hard walls. And a soft wall, I'll insert pictures here in videos of my booth. They are just vinyl walls that you can roll up and you can put up on a stand. It comes with a pole and stand, and your logo is displayed over 75% of the soft wall. So those were the two options that you had. And so for me, I wanted to go with the soft walls because I've never built a hard wall, and I got mine from Banner Buzz. I loved working with them. They were super, super quick, and the side walls came out beautifully. It was very easy to put up. You did need 2 people to put them up because of how big they were. And also for the Big E, they recommended that you have flooring as well. So flooring would mean hardwood floors, soft floors, something that will cover it and make it look nice. So we ended up getting this soft flooring, but it looks like hard flooring. We got it from Amazon. It was around $119. I'll have it linked to my storefront because a lot of people have asked about it. But that flooring, y'all, was a game changer. It was a game changer. When I tell you my feet did not hurt the whole 17 days, The whole 17 days, my feet survived. They did not hurt. And if y'all were looking at my old videos at the Delaware State Fair, my feet were killing me, and that was a 10-day fair. This was a 17-day fair, and I must say my feet did not hurt, not once. The flooring was incredible, incredible. It was very easy to put together, and it's reusable, so you could just take it apart and you can bring it to your next show. So that was a very, very good investment. Also, for the booth, you also needed to have lights because inside the building it does get a little bit dark at nighttime, and we had got 2 of the Harbor Freight lights that we brought to Delaware. We put those up, but they didn't really do anything. It looked like it was still dark in there, so we had to go out and buy more lights. We actually got some recommendations from our fellow vendor neighbor next door, so it's good to talk to your vendors and things and ask questions because they've done it before. And so ask them, what works, and they recommended the lights that we got. So my sister went to Home Depot, got the lights, we put them up, and it made everything so bright. It looked very, very good. So yeah, those were like the 3 main requirements that you had to have. Oh, and for the sidewalls, they had to be 10 by 8. They couldn't be any higher than 8 feet. So that was also very important as well. So yeah, those were like the requirements, and of course to have an aesthetically pleasing booth as well, but the main things were flooring, sidewalls, and lights. All right, so now moving on to setting up at the Big E. We had a 10 by 10 and it was a corner booth, and we took our time, you guys. We took our time. We got there around 5 days before the fair actually started, and we mapped out everything. We planned everything. We changed a few things, and for a show this size, always plan to go early because you never know the situation. You might have to change things, electricity could be different. It could be in a different spot, like all of these different things. Our setup process was pretty smooth. We put the flooring up first, then we put the sidewalls up, then we put the lighting up because that's important. You wanted to make sure that the electricity and everything was working before we put our displays up and things. And then we put up our displays and everything like that. And also for back stock, like items you want to keep at the fair, we had them in tote bins that were behind the booth as well. So if we were running out or running low on scrunchies, we can just go and grab some. At this fair, they had dead stock, and that is something that I regret not getting because at the Delaware State Fair, they had like a little 2 feet in back of our booth to put all of the back stock and stuff. And at the Big E, there was no back stock at our booth. So we had to put all of our containers underneath the tables and things. And I really didn't want to do that, but I just didn't think about where to put the back stock. I just expected that they had back stock. So having dead stock like on location is like almost a must. You can also rent like U-Haul storage that is close to the fair, but it's not on the grounds. I would much rather just have dead stock on the ground so that if I'm running low, I can just go run out and get some while somebody else is watching my booth. All right, so now let's talk about location. So I was in the Young building and I was in space 35B. And when I first initially got to my space, I was like, I have a really good spot. And I said that because I was directly next to a door. And for me, when you're next to a door, people come through the door and they see you. But what I didn't realize until after starting the show, that my spot was actually not a good spot because I was near the back door. So in my building, it was like 55,000 square feet and they had around 6 doors, I believe. And mine was closest to the back door. So I didn't realize that until I had people tell me like, oh, it's so hard to find you. I just thought because I was next to the door and I could see the midway that I had a good spot. I feel like this video is going to be super, super long. We're only on like point number 3 and we have a lot to go. But moving on to daily life at a 17-day show. It was a lot. It was amazing. It was challenging. It was incredible, like all in one. I had such an incredible experience at the Big E. Life for those 17 days were amazing. So we stayed at an Airbnb and it was around 30 minutes from the Big E. Our building opened at 10 o'clock and it closed at 10 o'clock. So we were 30 minutes away. So we would try to get there around 9 o'clock, but traffic was so unpredictable. During the week, it would take us like maybe 35 minutes, but during the weekends, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it would take us like an hour just to get to our location to park our car. So that was something something that we had to figure out. Day one, when we got there, we were pretty much almost late because we did not account for that much traffic. We would get there around 9:30, and my sister would go and open up our booth and make sure everything was stocked and everything was good. And for me, I took that time in the morning to do my social media posts. So every single day I made a social media post. I would come in, my sister would set up, and I would go to my little corner and I would record my social media post for the day, letting people know, like, you know, it's day one at the fair, it's day two at the fair, day three at the fair. And I would put like little snippets of my day, and we'll talk about that later. But doing that literally made the experience worthwhile for us. Oh, my daughter's waking up. Give me 1 minute. All right, y'all. So my sister just came home, so she's going to be snuggling with Zena while I finish this video. I'm so grateful for my sister because I just want to get this video done. Y'all have been waiting for too long. We ended up getting a refrigerator as well from Walmart, and we also brought our microwave so we could heat up food and bring food from the Airbnb. That was so necessary because we were able to just eat a little bit healthier on some days, and then a lot of the vendors that were around us, they were able to heat up their food as well, and we just became a big happy family with sharing the refrigerator, sharing the microwave, and all of that good stuff. It was pretty busy from around 12 o'clock until 7 o'clock every single day. And then they had concerts at around 7:30, and it was pretty dead from that time until 10 o'clock. We would have a few customers trickle in there, and that was nice, but it was more relaxed. We were able to sit down, and that was when I was doing most of my filming because that was the time that I had to film. And I would also go and network with other vendors during that time as well. And on the weekends, it was pretty busy from the time that we opened up to around 7, 8 o'clock as well. So for breakfast, we would typically eat at the Airbnb or eat something light when we got there. And then at lunch, we would eat something healthy. And then at dinner time, we did want to try the fair food. Like, they had so many different food options. And every time I saw a customer walk by with something new, I was like, I need that. I need that. Whatever they have, I want it. So we ended up getting like something new for dinner pretty much every single night. And when I say the food was absolutely incredible, it was incredible. So that's how daily life was at the fair. At 10 o'clock, the doors closed for the customers. We walked back to our car and we take the 30-minute trip back to the house, and we would do it all over again for the duration of the 17 days. Number 5 is customer interactions and community. So I think I'm going to actually talk about social media first and promotion and switch those two because social media ties into all of this. And so I think that I'm going to talk about that first. So let's talk about social media, y'all, and promotion. So before we even got to the fair, I did a countdown like how I did at the Delaware State Fair. I count down. I think at the Delaware State Fair, I did a 17-day countdown, and then I did just snippets of my day at the fair. Whereas this one, I believe I did around a 7-day countdown. I wanted to do more, but we had a whole situation with the bonnets and my attention was focused elsewhere. But we did, I believe it was a 7-day countdown. I'll put it on the screen. But one of the ways that I promote is using social media, and that is Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. I utilize all the platforms, and I realized, like, when I did the Delaware State Fair, that really helped, and it really brought a lot of traffic to my booth. And so I figured I would do the same thing this time because I am coming from afar. I'm coming from Delaware, and I don't really know anybody in Massachusetts. I knew a few vendors that were coming, and I knew like one other person there, but there was nobody that I knew in Massachusetts really, and I wanted to make sure that I stood out. The Big E is more like a grandfather fair where the vendors get passed down to their children, their grandchildren. So there's not a lot of new vendors there. And so I wanted to make sure that people knew who I was, knew that I was coming and everything. And I must say that social media really saved us during this fair because at the beginning, like I said, I thought that I had a good spot, but I really didn't have a good spot. And I would hear people say like, oh my God, I've been looking for your booth, but I couldn't hardly find it. And so that's why every day I would say, I'm right by the Dingle Distillery. I'm across from the Ferris wheel. I wanted them to know where to find me. So that's why I was doing that on my social media. But promoting yourself on social media is almost necessary for 2025. You need to get online and promote yourself and let people know who you are, what you're about, and where they can shop with you. Although the Big E brought in over 1.6 million people, you're not going to have access to that 1.6 million people because they could be just staying outside, not coming into the building. They could have already a list of things that they want to shop for. So promoting yourself and getting yourself out there will make a huge difference. And you never know who's going to come and support you and shop from you. Like, you just will not know at all. And I must say that social media, specifically TikTok, really drove sales for us. Like, really drove sales for us, y'all. Like, the first day, about 90% of our sales came from TikTok. Like, people who saw my video on TikTok came out to support and shop. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying like promoting yourself. You never know who's going to come, if they'll come, but put yourself out there and just try anyhow. And it's important to put hashtags, your location, all that is important because people will be looking for things to do at the Big E and stuff, and your video will have a possibility of popping up. And I feel like I have the advantage when it comes to fairs, and this has been working out for me so far with the Delaware State Fair and the Big E because I start before there's even traction on it. So when the traction hits, like when people start to look up what to eat at the Big E, I'm going to the Big E looking for things to do, my video tends to be the first thing that pops up because I've already been in the algorithm promoting it for 7 days, however many days before. So that is so important to do. And it literally saved us this year. I did hear that a lot of vendors were down this year. You know, they said it was a little bit slower, a lot slower from last year. And for us, we weren't down, we were up because we have nothing to compare it to, one, but for two, because of social media. Posting on social media daily really drove sales for us. And for customer interactions, we had some just amazing customer interactions from TikTok, from YouTube, and just the regular people that were walking around the fair. And it's important when you're doing a show like this to be kind and to treat everybody with respect. And no matter if the customer is spending $5 or if they're spending $100, like, everybody is important to us and we treat everybody just really good. We had a lot of people that came the first couple of days who came back again towards the end of the fair, and they brought more people with them. They brought friends, they brought family, and it was just so incredible. Like, the interactions of people saying, "Oh, I found you through TikTok. I was looking all over for you," or, you know, "You have been popping up every single time I open TikTok. Yours is the first video that pops up." We heard that a lot, you guys. Like, so many people said when they opened up TikTok, your videos just kept showing up, and that's why they came. So they could have seen that video like 7 times before they even said, "You know what? I'm going to go see this girl," you know? And we had a customer come and she purchased from us and she said, "I just came for you guys." She wasn't a YouTube follower. She just saw me on TikTok and she came to buy something, and she turned around and she was with her friend and she was like, "I don't even know what to do after this. I just came to see you and that's it." And I was like, "Girl, you better go get some food or something," you know? But that is just incredible because in order to get in, her and her friend bought an admission ticket to come shop with me, and they didn't even plan to even go to the fair at all. They just came because I kept popping up. I was in their faces every time they opened that app. XM Beauty was like the first or second person at the top of the app. That just shows, like, just get out there. And y'all, when I got to Massachusetts, I had like 600 followers on TikTok. Now, I did have around 1,400 followers before, but they weren't my target audience. So I went and deleted everybody. That was like maybe a year ago. So I had less than 1,000 followers. By the time I left the Big E, I had like 1,100 followers, something like that. But it didn't matter that I only had 640 people following me. My video was still seen by thousands of people. Like, one video was like 10,000, one was 8,000, one was 6,000. That's a lot of people, you know? So, and a lot of those people came, supported, and shopped with us. If y'all are not on social media, I recommend that y'all get on social media and find what works for you. I wouldn't have known that posting before the fair started, what it could do if I didn't do it. Right? I just tried something and it worked, and then it worked again. So now that's something that I'm going to keep doing until it doesn't work. You could be going to the same fair and now you take exactly what I'm saying and do the same thing and get a completely different result. You have to find what works for you. And if you're going to be a business owner, you have to learn how to pivot and figure out how to make money, how to promote, how to market, all of that stuff. So that's what I'm saying. What works for me, you can try it. And if it works for you, amazing. If it doesn't, maybe try something else. But social media is huge and there's a lot of people on the app. Just tap into that, and I would just go full throttle on that when it comes to like promoting yourself at fairs. And you have the advantage because a lot of the vendors at fairs, they have been doing it for so many years that they have built a community of people who come and visit them every year. Maybe they have 500,000 out of that 1.6 million people, especially like food vendors, that will come and see them every single year. We're just starting out, like I'm just starting out. And if you guys want to, start out and do this too, utilize social media. Social media is your friend when it comes to business and when it comes to fairs and getting yourself out there. I just think it's so important. And I think that you guys should definitely do that. That's what works for me. And if you guys want to do this, hopefully it'll work for you as well. We're moving through this, but now we're on to my help and also my support system. I love talking about this because I have an incredible support system. Before the fair even happened, I had a few friends that came and helped me out because I was in a tight spot with the bonnets, so they came and helped me out with that. But at the fair, I brought my mom to help me with my daughter because I didn't want to leave Zena back in Delaware. And then we had my sister was the main person helping me at my booth. Thank you so much, Vanessa, because I couldn't have done it without my sister, y'all. She really helped me out a lot. And we have different strengths and weaknesses, so we are actually polar opposites. Vanessa is more, she's a manager at her job, so she is very like structured. She loves systems, and she just thinks completely different than me. Like some of the things that I think about, she doesn't think about, and like vice versa. So we could like get into it a little bit when it comes to like booth setups and things. But at the end, it always works out because her strengths and my strengths, like we just balance each other out when it comes to that. So she was there, and I'm just so grateful for her. I could not have done it without her. And then we also had Raven come. Raven came for 5 days, and Genesis ended up not coming. I told her she didn't have to come because we felt like with the two of us, it was enough. And to have 3 people in the booth would have been too much. The way our booth was set up, just even with me and Vanessa and all of the back stock, it was too much. And I know from my experience, if you have too many people behind your booth, that will deter customers from coming in and shopping. So I told Genesis that, she doesn't have to come, and she understood. And I appreciate Genesis so much for just being on standby for me. But we had Raven come for 5 days, and I'm so thankful now that we had her because I did have to stay back at the Airbnb and sew more inventory while her and Vanessa stayed at the booth. So that was my help and support systems. And also we had vendors that helped us out so much with anything that we needed. The one next to us, Stars Vendors, they helped us with our displays. Just so many people helped us out. They gave us advice, so we had a really good support system. And with this type of affair, you need 2 people. I don't know what I was talking about when I was telling you guys that I was going to the Big E and saying I was going to do it by myself. Yeah, it would have been very, very hard to do it by yourself, especially if you have to go to the bathroom, if you need food. And just because it's a long day and the duration of the fair is so long, you just need that help. And I wanted to be rested before I went to this fair, but because of all the situation that happened with the bonnets and things, I was not rested. So that really, really took a toll on me. So having Vanessa there really helped a lot. The next thing we have on here is expenses, but I'm going to move that one until a little bit later because that's such a big topic. And after that, I have on here exposure and brand growth. We pretty much talked about that when we talked about social media, just putting yourself out there and posting online, getting your name out there. And when you do that, automatically your brand will grow because people will follow you. We also gave everybody a business card. And so we got a lot of followers through that. And we're just building our community slowly but surely by putting ourselves out there and just reaching as many people as we possibly can. All right, so now that we covered all of that, let's talk about expenses. A lot of people, when I was at the fair, they said, is it worth it? Is it worth it? I kept getting these questions, and I would always say, yes, it's worth it. But I want to talk about and be transparent about expenses, because there are just so many small expenses that you have to be aware of when doing a show this large. The first thing obviously is going to be your booth fee, which is that big chunk of $2,300. And then if you live in Massachusetts, you might not need lodging, but I am coming from out of state, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching me are from all over and they want to maybe try the Big E one day. You have to think about hotel or Airbnb, wherever you're staying. So that is a big fee as well. For us, we ended up paying $3,200. That's actually on the cheaper side, but we also had to drive a little bit farther. We had to drive around 30 minutes. So if we were to get closer, it was around like the 5,000, 6,000 mark, but we saved around $3,000 by going a little bit farther. And then you have to account for parking fees, and then you have insurance. And so you have to have two different insurances. You have your regular business insurance, and then you also have your workman's comp insurance. So for anybody who walks behind your booth selling with you, they have to be insured. So I had to insure my sister, I had to insure Raven, and also Genesis before I realized that she wasn't going to come. We also had to get the sidewalls. The sidewalls, I said they were almost $1,000, but we actually had a 40% discount when I ordered. So we ended up paying $691.89, which is still pretty expensive. Then we had to get flooring, we got lights, I had to get a hand truck to carry all of the big boxes and all of that stuff. We had to get a U-Haul. That was another fee. That was over $1,000 for the U-Haul. We had to get food for the Airbnb. We also bought food at the actual fair as well. So that ended up being a lot of money. I had to pay my help. So that was paying Raven, also paying Vanessa, and then inventory to get all of the products to get there. That was thousands of dollars. I'm not going to break down that inventory that I spent because I did buy too much of certain items and too little of certain items. So I don't want to mess the numbers up, and it's going to be different for each one of you guys. But we spent a lot of money on my raw ingredients for my hair care, for a lot of different things. So taxes, in Delaware, we don't pay sales tax, but in Massachusetts, their sales tax is 6.25%. So we got to pay that taxes too. And then the tolls to get there, and also the gas. And then you also need money for the small things that you don't really put on your list. So those are the things that add up in cost too. And that's what I was trying to tell people. Like, the refrigerator was not on my list, but that was like $250, right? So I had to get that. All the extra lights that I needed, I came with 2 sets of lights. It wasn't enough, so I had to go buy that. That was like well over $100, I believe. And then we had to get duct tape for the flooring. Duct tape costs money. Wipes, paper towels, just the stuff that you don't think about until you get there and you realize that you need it. All of that costs money. So that's why when I say the expenses are very, very, very high. So make sure you guys are considering that. Like, whatever you have on your base of the things that you need, like all the stuff that I mentioned here, like that's just the base. We spent a lot of money just like the small stuff, just buying the small stuff that we need, like the brackets, hooks, extra zip ties. That's just fees that you just have to make sure that you guys have on hand if you guys are going to be doing a show like this. But the $5,000 to $10,000 that I told you guys about in the beginning when I found out about this fair and I said it was going to be that amount, we spent way more than that. Like way more. So for beginners, if you guys don't have like the necessary like sidewalls or refrigerator, if you guys don't do big shows like this already and you guys want to, these are the things that you need to buy, and you have to calculate how much these things are going to cost. But all of this stuff is going to vary because you're probably not going to stay at the same Airbnb as me. You're probably not going to be paying the same amount of insurance as me. So it's irrelevant to share with you exactly all of my expenses, but just know that it's way north of 10,000. Just saying that. But now let's go into lessons I've learned and advice, and then my final thoughts of if it's worth it or not. So lessons that I learned at the Big E. There was just so many lessons that I learned at this fair, y'all. Number one lesson is I asked around to a lot of different people on, how I should prepare for this event, what to expect for this event and everything. But there's so many factors that can go into it. And that was a little ignorant of me to think that their experience is going to be the same as my experience, especially like if they're selling non-handmade items, I'm selling handmade items. It can depend on if you're promoting or not promoting on social media. It can depend on booth space, if you are in a good location or a bad location. It could depend on your booth display, if it's a very aesthetically pleasing booth display or if it's not. There's so many different factors, and my questions were too broad, and I would ask, how much stuff should I bring? How is the foot traffic like? All of that stuff. And they could give me their advice, but my advice to you, you will not know what to expect until you actually get there and you go a whole day and see how it is. And also the time of year, and each year could be different, because last year was the Big E's peak at 1.6 million plus people. This year it was a lot lower than last year, and the vendors did drastically different. So last year apparently it was busy all day from morning until night, and they said that was weekday and weekend, whereas this year it was different. And from all the other vendors as well, they were like, this is way slower than what we're used to. And so Monday through Thursday it was busy, but it wasn't like where I was like, oh my God, this is busy, 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 busy all day. It wasn't like that at all. On the weekends, yeah, it was crazy in there. But Monday through Thursday, it was like, it wasn't like shoulder to shoulder. But if you're going off of people's experience from last year, you could possibly be disappointed because that was their experience last year. And also this is a grandfather fair pretty much. So some people just come for certain people. So they could have an audience of 200,000 people that come and see them every year. And we're new vendors and we have to get our footing and stuff. So that plays a role too. Location plays a role as well. So for me, my advice and like lessons learned is you could get advice from people and you can ask questions and you can try to get prepared as possible. But until you actually go and experience it and do it for yourself, that's when you get that knowledge that nobody can take away from you, and you can grow each time and apply it each time. Like for me with the Delaware State Fair, the first year I didn't know what to expect. And for this year when I went, I was so prepared because I had numbers from last year. And so it became 100 times easier because I know what I'm getting myself into. So yes, you can ask questions, you can be prepared and everything, but just go with the open mind. And I'm so happy I asked all those questions, but I also was a little bit naive in the fact that, yeah, I didn't think about their experience could be completely different than mine because they had different products than mine, or it could be how long they've been there and all of those things. So all of those things play a role in that. Another piece of advice that I want to share with you guys is also knowing when to pivot. I know I've spoke about that a lot, but I cannot stress that enough. If you are spending thousands of dollars for a show and things are not going as you want them to go, pivot. Do not be afraid to pivot. A real business owner, they're not going to invest and just, if it's not going the way they want, just, give up and be like, well, it is what it is. No. Each day you could literally change the outcome. If it is slow, get online and promote yourself. Just do it, right? Like get online and promote yourself. If you notice that people are walking by your booth and not even stopping to even see what you have, change your display. If you notice that one direction is getting more traffic and this direction is not, put your focal items onto the place that has more people coming. You have to know how to pivot. And that's one thing that I think is the reason why my business is growing at the rate that it's growing, is because if I try to learn from every situation and I go over everything. So like on day one at the Big E, we had our hair care on one side and we had our scrunchie wall on one side, and we had a corner booth. So you don't know on the first day, which side brings in more traffic. And so I was looking and noticing that more people were buying scrunchies on day one when I have more hair care products, right? I have more of that and I want to push my hair care. So I don't know which day that we changed it, but after a while, I told my sister, we're going to change it and put the hair care on the other side and the scrunchies on the other side because we want to have the most people looking at the hair care first, and then we can tell them we have scrunchies on the other side. So that's what we did. We lifted the whole thing up and we changed it. It takes you 5 minutes, but in the amount of revenue that you can make from making a 5-minute change could be drastic. And so my advice for you is to just, if it's necessary to pivot, just pivot. Don't worry about who's watching you. Don't worry about, what are they going to think about me? How are you going to look? Don't do it. You have to do whatever is best for your business. If I can just drill that into y'all's head, pivoting is so important when it comes to business, and it really saved us. We were in what I considered a very bad spot at the Big E, a very bad spot. If I were to be in the center where we had direction from all over, we would have made double or more than what we made because of location. Another lesson I learned in this whole experience is if you are going to hire help, make sure that they are equipped for the job. Make sure that they are going to be representing your brand well. Make sure that they can speak about your brand like you speak about your brand, or even better. That is so important because whoever is coming and who are finding you from social media, if you are at the bathroom or if you have to step away for a minute, like I had to take off for 2 days, the person that's at your booth needs to represent your brand in the way that you want to be represented, because as fast as you blow up on TikTok, that could be as fast as you go down. So make sure that you are vetting your help and making sure that they know exactly what they're doing, and spend time with them and make them feel comfortable and all of that stuff. That should be like a whole separate video, honestly, because I think that is just huge when it comes to, hiring help and all of that stuff. Another lesson I learned from this is you need rest. When you're doing a fair of this size, you need rest, you need sleep. Sleep is very important. I got sick at this fair one time. My back was all out of whack. So many things were going wrong because I wasn't getting the proper rest. And that is due to me making product at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning and getting 2 hours of sleep, going in and working a long day for that amount of time. It kind of wore on my body. So getting rest is important, and also just taking care of yourself and fueling yourself in that way. But yeah, those are like the biggest lessons that I learned. And the advice that I would give is to always keep an open mind and just know that so many different factors can make a difference. Like I was looking at my booth and where it was, and if I would have just been in the center and I had direction from all sides, we would have made double, if not more, than what we made just by the location change. So there's so many factors that can go into it. My experience may be different from your experience, but my advice is to be open. If it's your first time, there will be another time. There will be another time to get it right. So just don't beat yourself up. Learn the lesson. And in business, sometimes you have to lose, but don't beat yourself up. And for the next time, you'll learn and you will know what worked and what didn't work. And then you'll go forward from there. All of those experiences that you've had at your fair, at your event or whatever, take those same experiences and learn from it and just do better the next time. There's so many things that I want to change for next year for me as well. In this last section, I want to go over my final thoughts. And the big question is, was it worth it? My final thoughts is I had an incredible time at the Big E. All of the vendors that I ran into were incredible. The staff at the Big E were so nice and so sweet. I enjoyed the process from the start to the end. It was just a beautiful experience. My customers were so kind. Everybody was very helpful. It was all in all an amazing experience. And will I do this show again? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm already planning for next year and some things that I'll be changing, but we'll talk about that closer to the date. But I am so excited to go and I'm already looking forward to it for next year. It was just such a good experience all in all, even with the whole bonnet hiccup, even with me being sick and my back being pulled out of place, like it was still overall probably one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. We were just blown away with how it went and all of the amazing people who came out. Like we've met some now like lifelong friends that we met even like from TikTok. We had a few people come back and they saw us pretty much every day since the day that they came out to see us. They would come back and check up on us. They would buy us food. When Xena was there, they would play with Xena. It was just an incredible experience. And I also want to talk about my YouTube community. I can't believe I didn't talk about that earlier, but my YouTube community is you guys. When I say I seriously love y'all so much, like I love y'all so much. Each customer who came from like social media, I could tell if they came from TikTok or if they came from YouTube. And the reason why I could tell was if they came from TikTok, it seemed like they were more just amazed at the fact that they saw me on TikTok and they're seeing me in person. But when y'all came from YouTube, it was as if, this sounds so strange, but it was as if I already knew y'all. I don't know. That sounds, I'm sure that sounds kind of crazy. And I could just feel that connection almost immediately. And my sister was like, man, Tina, she loves her YouTube community. I just love y'all so much because I just feel like even though y'all probably know more about me than I know about y'all, I just love YouTube as a platform because I get to just get on and just share everything about me being a mom, me being a small business owner. I see the comments, like I reply back to almost every one of my comments and I know like the profile pictures of y'all. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but when you see the same person comment on multiple videos, you kind of like, you feel that connection. I get advice. I get like the most beautiful comments ever. Our community on here is just, we're locked. We're locked over here. And to see y'all in person, I'm just me. And so to see like some of y'all who came and supported me, I was just blown away because I'm like, they watch me. Like, that's how I feel. Like they watch me. And so it just makes me feel just all the feelings, all of it. I'm just so grateful for each and every one of y'all who come out to support me and who have came from afar, who were local and just showed me so much love. Like I really, really appreciate y'all a lot. I really do. I'm not just saying that. When I think about the Big E experience, I think about that. Like, wow. I feel so blessed and so honored to have so many people come out to see X and Beauty, you know, to see me. And like when y'all come up and be like, hey, Tina, how's Xena? I'm like, oh my God, we're just family at this point. You know, so I met so many names people. There's so many names that I wrote down. I was like, I don't want to forget anybody's name and all this stuff. So just thank y'all so much. And it was just an incredible journey. And it was just so nice. You know, it's just so nice to meet everybody. So that was just amazing. So I would definitely be back next year, God willing. We'll see if any changes happen. I'll always keep you guys updated and in the loop with everything. And would you recommend this event for experienced vendors versus beginners? I put this here for a reason. So would I recommend this event for beginners? No. Simple as that. No. For one, for a beginner, you're not going to be able to get into the Big E. And the reason I say that is because I've had people who don't even do markets say that they want to apply for this event. And I just want to let you know that you cannot just get into the Big E. You have to have like a resume, like a market resume of you going to markets, of your booth display. They actually call your references. So they'll put, I think for the Big E was like 3 lines of give us 3 references. So they'll call each reference and see, you know, are they a good vendor? You know, how is their display? They're going to ask all those questions. So this is not recommended for beginners. For one, because you need the experience. For 2, financially speaking, most business owners who are starting out financially, we're just not there. I was not there just a year ago. So let's just say financially speaking, you got to be prepared for an event like this. And I know some experienced vendors that I've been with and they've been doing it way longer than me. They can't even afford to get to the Big E. So I'm just putting that out there. Would I recommend this for experienced vendors? Absolutely. I would recommend it in a heartbeat to experienced vendors, and especially vendors who are open-minded and vendors who know how to pivot and vendors who are looking to grow, I would definitely recommend the Big E to them. And if you are watching me and you want to take the leap, I would say do it, but keep in mind of all of the things that I told you about, which is the expenses. Your experience can be completely different than my experience, and I never want you to be disappointed. And that's why for me, like anybody that I ask, how was it? What are we looking at in numbers and all of that stuff? Like I cannot blame them because they could make a certain amount of money. But that doesn't mean I am or you are going to make that much money. So was it worth it for me? Yes, it was. But I'm not sure if it'll be worth it for you. So you have to figure that out. And if you want to do fairs like this, then I would say go for it. But you have to be ready and you have to be serious about this. So that is all the points that I have written down. Hopefully I answered any of your questions. If you guys have any more questions, let me know in the comments. I'm in the comments and I try to reply back as much as I possibly can. If I do get a lot of questions that are like the same thing, I will possibly make another video following up on that because I know this is a big deal and there's so much information to be shared with this. So yeah, that is everything that I've written down here. I just wish each and every one of you the best when it comes to markets, fairs, or anything. I just wish y'all the best. I started out going to my first ever thing was a flea market. I realized it wasn't for me. My products didn't stand out there. Then I started going to craft shows. Then I was doing farmers markets. Then I came across fairs, and you just have to figure out what works for you, what you like. But at every single event that I've done in person, I have learned from it and I have grown from it. And I took what I learned and I applied it to the next time, and I just got better and better and better and better. And there's so many things that I'm going to change for next year that I've learned, and I will just keep getting better because I have it in my mind. Like if you're a business owner, you have to always learn and be open to learning and changing because the times are changing. So you have to be pivoting whenever you need to pivot, or else you're just going to be just falling behind, So I just wish you guys all the best. If you guys want to do fairs, if you guys are just watching because you want to know how I did, thank you so much for watching. But for my business owners who want to do fairs and everything, go for it. Just go for it and you'll see if you like it, because we did very well financially speaking. And I don't share numbers on here, but we did well. Not even for that, the experience with just being around like-minded people and around seasoned vendors who have been in the game for a long time, and they just took time out to coach us. Like my guy Nash, when I say I love that man so much, he sat there and mentored me throughout the fair, and he told me things that will change the game for me next year. And other vendors around, they just gave us tips and tricks and things to do to save time and so many different things. Like even if we didn't make profit on the first year, I would still be all right with that because of the information that was learned. People literally pay to go to seminars and to go to coaching to learn what I learned for free just by being in a room, a space with like-minded people. Yes, we did well. Yes, all of that, but it was more than that. It was the experience. It was the experience. And that's why I wanted to sit down and make a separate video, because money cannot buy the experience that I experienced at that fair. It was just incredible. Vanessa was like, I just love this experience. Like just the people, us sharing food, speaking to customers and giving people hugs and encouraging people and getting encouraged, and walking around the fairgrounds and experiencing the massive amount of people and the amazing fair food. It was just all so good. The whole experience was so good. So if you guys want to experience that, I suggest that you experience it if that's what you want to do. But just know, like, it will be worth it. Regardless, it will be worth it. So anyways, I think I'll leave you guys with that so I can edit this video and hopefully have it out for you guys by Saturday. But thank you guys so much for watching as always. Again, if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments for your girl. I appreciate that. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.